The golden morning light bathed Heartland in a warm glow as Amy Fleming stood near the barn, her gaze fixed on Lindy, who laughed while the horses playfully circled her. It was a moment of serenity, the kind that once made this ranch feel like the safest place in the world. Yet, beneath the beauty of the sunrise, there was a quiet ache, an unshakable feeling that something was missing. Life had moved forward, seasons had changed, but some wounds never truly faded. Ty's absence wasn't just a memory, it was woven into the very fabric of this place. In the whisper of the wind, in the rhythmic beat of hooves on the earth, and most of all, in Lindy's eyes so much like his, it was as if he was still here, yet heartbreakingly out of reach. Lou arrived shortly after, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Handing one to Amy, she leaned against the fence and watched Lindy with a soft smile. "She's growing up so fast," Lou said, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "I can't believe she's already asking about riding solo." Amy chuckled, but there was a hint of sadness in her expression. "She's just like him," she admitted. "Fearless, determined. So much of Ty is in her." Lou hesitated before speaking again, sensing the emotions beneath Amy's words. "And Nathan?" she asked cautiously. "Have you talked to him about the future?" Amy sighed, taking a sip of her coffee. Nathan had been patient, understanding, and kind, everything she could have asked for. But something held her back. She had started to imagine a future with him, for herself and for Lindy. It felt right, or at least she thought it did. But love wasn't just about logic, and her heart still carried the weight of the past. Before she could answer, a truck pulled into the driveway, dust rising in its wake. Jack stepped out of the barn, narrowing his eyes at the approaching vehicle. Amy felt a strange, unshakable sensation in her chest, as if something significant was about to happen. The door of the truck opened, and for a moment, time stood still. The air seemed heavier, the sounds of the ranch fading into silence. Amy's breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped out, his silhouette familiar yet impossible. Her heart pounded violently, her hands trembling as she took a step forward, unable to believe what she was seeing. Ty Borden stood before her, alive. Jack's face went pale, his usual steady composure wavering. Lo gasped, covering her mouth in shock. Lindy, oblivious to the tension, looked curiously at the man everyone was staring at. But Amy felt as if the ground had been pulled from beneath her feet. For years, she had grieved, struggled, and tried to rebuild her life, believing that Ty was gone forever. Now he was here, standing in front of her as if he had never left. Silence stretched between them, thick with emotions too heavy to name. Ty's gaze was filled with longing, guilt, and something deeper, something broken yet desperate to mend. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out at first. Finally, he managed to say, "Amy, I'm home." Amy's entire body tensed. Home. The word felt foreign coming from him, like a cruel joke. Anger, shock, pain, love, all of it swirled within her, clashing in a storm she couldn't control. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "No, you don't get to say that." Her voice trembled, but her resolve was steady. "You don't get to walk back into our lives like nothing happened." Ty swallowed hard, his jaw tightening. "Amy, Where were you?" she demanded, her voice rising. "Where were you all these years, Ty? Do you have any idea what you put us through?" Her eyes burned with unshed tears, the weight of every lonely night, every moment of heartbreak crashing over her. "Lindy grew up without you. I mourned you. I tried to move on. And now you just show up?" Jack finally stepped forward, his voice rough with restrained emotion. "You better have a damn good explanation, son." Ty looked at them all, Jack, Lo, and finally Amy. His eyes landed on Lindy, who was watching him with wide, innocent eyes. His voice was barely above a whisper. I never wanted to leave, but I didn't have a choice. Amy shook her head, turning away, her hands gripping the fence as she tried to steady herself. Lou was the first to break the silence. That's not good enough, Ty. You were presumed dead. We buried you in our hearts. Do you have any idea what that did to us? I know, Ty said, his voice filled with regret. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. Amy turned back, her blue eyes filled with a storm of emotions. You can't just expect us to forgive you, she whispered. I don't, Ty admitted, but I need you to know the truth. Lindy finally spoke, her voice small but clear. Are you my dad? Ty's breath hitched, his eyes softening as he crouched to her level. Yeah, he said, his voice breaking. I'm your dad. Lindy studied him for a long moment, then looked up at Amy as if waiting for her approval. Amy felt her heart shatter into a million pieces. This was the moment she had both feared and longed for the day Lindy would meet her father. Jack exhaled deeply. I think we all need answers. Ty nodded, his face grim. I'll tell you everything, but it's not what you think. Amy's heart pounded in her chest. She had spent years believing she knew the truth, but as she looked into Ty's eyes, she realized whatever had happened to him, whatever had kept him away, was far from simple, and it was about to change everything. Silence hung heavy over Heartland, the weight of Ty's return pressing down on everyone. The wind rustled through the trees, the horses in the distance shifting uneasily, as if they, too, sensed the storm brewing. Amy stood rigid, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, trying to steady her racing heart. She had imagined so many scenarios where she might see Ty again, dreams where he was still alive, nightmares where she lost him all over again. But never had she prepared for this moment, for the reality of him standing right in front of her. Jack was the first to break the silence. His voice, usually so calm and steady, held an edge of restrained emotion. Start talking, Ty, now. Ty took a deep breath, his hands clenched at his sides. His gaze flickered to Lindy, who stood beside Amy, staring at him with a mix of curiosity and confusion. She looked so much like him. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. He had missed years of her life. I know I owe you all an explanation, he said finally, his voice low and rough. But I need you to believe me when I say I never meant to leave. Amy let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. That's not good enough, Ty. That's not even close to good enough. Lou, who had been standing beside Jack, her arms folded, finally spoke. Ty, you were declared dead. We grieved for you. Amy had to pick up the pieces of her life, and Lindy had to grow up without a father. And now, after all these years, you just show up and expect us to listen? Ty's jaw tightened. I don't expect anything, but if you let me explain, maybe you'll understand. Amy's breath was shaky, but she nodded. Fine, explain. Ty glanced at Jack, then back at Amy. After the shooting, I woke up in a hospital, but I wasn't in Hudson. His voice was steady, but the pain in his eyes was unmistakable. I was taken somewhere else, somewhere off the grid. I don't remember much from those first few days, just pain, confusion, and then nothing. When I finally came to, I was told I couldn't go back, that it wasn't safe. Amy frowned. Safe from what? Ty hesitated, as if choosing his words carefully. There were people who didn't want me to survive that day, and if they knew I was alive, they would have come after me and after you. Amy's blood ran cold. Are you saying someone tried to kill you? Ty exhaled slowly. I don't know exactly who was behind it, but I do know that if I had come back, I would have put you and Lindy in danger. So I stayed away. Jack's fists tightened at his sides. You expect us to believe that? Ty met Jack's gaze, his voice filled with quiet desperation. I had no choice. The only way to keep Amy and Lindy safe was to disappear. Amy's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to scream, to tell him he was lying, that nothing could justify the years of pain and loss. But something in his eyes, something raw and broken, made her hesitate. Could it be true? Had he really stayed away to protect them? Lindy, who had been silently absorbing everything, finally spoke. "You're my dad?" Her voice was small, hesitant, but it shattered the tension in an instant. Ty crouched down to her level, his voice thick with emotion. "Yeah, sweetheart, I'm your dad." Lindy studied him for a long moment. Her little brows furrowed. Then, to everyone's shock, she took a small step forward and touched his face. "You don't look like the pictures." A choked laugh escaped Ty, his eyes glistening. "I know. It's been a long time." Amy turned away, her emotions threatening to consume her. This was too much. Just hours ago, she had been thinking about her future with Nathan, trying to move forward. And now Ty was here alive, standing in front of her, telling her that everything she had believed was a lie. Nathan. The thought hit her like a wave of guilt. He had been patient, kind, understanding. He had been the one helping her heal, the one who had been there for Lindy when she needed a father figure. And now, just as she was about to take the next step with him, Ty had returned. Lou, sensing Amy's turmoil, spoke again. "Ty, even if what you're saying is true, it doesn't change the fact that Amy and Lindy had to live without you. That pain doesn't just go away." Ty stood up, his gaze locked on Amy. "I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me, Amy. But I need you to know I never stopped loving you, not for a second." Amy's breath hitched. She wanted to believe him, but love wasn't enough, not anymore. Jack finally sighed, running a hand over his face. "You're staying in the guest cabin tonight." Amy swallowed hard, nodding. She couldn't process this right now. She needed space. Ty turned to her, his voice soft. "I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." Amy met his gaze, her heart aching. "I don't know if you can." As she walked away, Lindy glanced back at Ty one last time before following her mother. And Ty, he stood there watching them go, knowing that this was only the beginning of the hardest battle of his life. The fight to earn back the trust of the family he had lost. The night was long and sleepless for Amy. Every time she closed her eyes, memories of Ty flooded her mind, his laughter, his touch, the way he used to look at her like she was his entire world. And now, after all these years, he was back. Alive. But the man standing before her wasn't the same person she had lost. He was different, changed, and she wasn't sure if she could ever trust him again. The early morning sun cast a golden glow over Heartland as Amy stepped out onto the porch, a cup of coffee warming her hands. From a distance, she spotted Ty near the guest cabin, sitting on the steps, staring out at the vast landscape. He looked like a man haunted by his past, by the choices he had made. Jack joined Amy, his expression unreadable. "Couldn't sleep?" Amy shook her head. "Every time I close my eyes, I hear his voice. I see him. And I don't know if it's real or if it's just my heart playing tricks on me." Jack sighed, rubbing his hands together. "I don't trust him yet, Amy. But I know one thing: you deserve answers, and so does Lindy." Amy tightened her grip on her cup. "Lindy? She doesn't understand what's happening. She's just a little girl, Jack. How do I even begin to explain this to her?" Jack placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You tell her the truth. That's all you can do." Amy exhaled slowly before making her way toward Ty. As she approached, he looked up, his face tired but hopeful. "I didn't think you'd want to talk to me," Ty said, standing up. Amy kept a safe distance, her voice firm. "I don't know what I want, Ty. But I do know that Lindy deserves the truth, and so do I." Ty nodded, his gaze searching hers. Ask me anything. I won't hide anything from you. Amy hesitated, then took a deep breath. You said you stayed away to protect us. But how do I know that's the truth? How do I know you didn't just give up on us? Pain flashed across Ty's face. I never gave up on you, Amy. Not for a single second. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in his posture. I wanted to come back every day. I fought to find a way. But the people who did this to me, they made sure I couldn't. Amy crossed her arms. Who are they, Ty? Who did this to you? Ty's jaw clenched. I don't know their names, but I know they were connected to the shooting. The people who tried to kill me that day weren't just random criminals. There was something bigger at play. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. Bigger? Like what? Ty hesitated before answering. I think it had to do with the land dispute. The one that almost cost you and Jack the ranch. Amy's heart pounded. That dispute had nearly torn their family apart. But could it really be connected to what had happened to Ty? Before she could respond, the sound of approaching footsteps caught their attention. Nathan. Amy turned to see him standing a few feet away, his expression unreadable. His presence alone made her chest tighten. He had been her rock, the man she had slowly begun to trust, the one who had helped her move forward. And now, everything was unraveling. Amy, Nathan said, his voice calm but firm. Can we talk? Ty straightened, protective. Instincts flaring, I think Amy and I were in the middle of something. Nathan's eyes met Tay's, and the tension between them was palpable. I understand that you have unfinished business here, but Amy isn't the only one who has been affected by your disappearance. Amy stepped between them, holding up a hand. Stop, both of you. She turned to Nathan. What is it? Nathan exhaled. I need to know where we stand, Amy. Before all of this happened, we were planning a future together. I was ready to take the next step, and now everything has changed. Amy's throat tightened. Nathan had been nothing but patient and understanding. But how could she give him an answer when her entire world had just been turned upside down? I don't know, Nathan, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know what's right anymore. Nathan's expression softened, but there was pain in his eyes. I love you, Amy, but I won't compete with a ghost. Ty's fists clenched at his sides. I'm not a ghost. Nathan's gaze didn't waver. You were for a long time. Amy felt the weight of their emotions crashing down on her. She had spent so long learning to live without Ty, to accept that he was gone. And now she was being asked to choose between the love she had lost and the love she had started to build. Before she could respond, Lindy's small voice cut through the tension. Mommy? Amy turned to see Lindy standing in the doorway, her eyes wide and uncertain. Nathan took a step back. I should go. Amy nodded, silently thanking him for understanding. She then crouched down to Lindy's level, brushing a strand of hair from her face. What is it, sweetheart? Lindy glanced at Ty before looking back at her mother. Can I talk to him? Amy's breath hitched. She looked at Ty, whose eyes were filled with emotion. Of course, sweetheart, Amy said softly, stepping aside. Ty knelt down, his voice gentle. Hey, Lindy. Lindy hesitated before taking a step closer. Did you really love Mommy? Tay's eyes glistened. More than anything in this world. Lindy bit her lip. Then why did you leave? Ty swallowed hard, his voice thick with regret. Because I thought I was keeping you both safe. But I was wrong. Lindy studied him carefully before taking another step forward. Then, to everyone's surprise, she reached out and touched his hand. Are you going to leave again? Tay shook his head, his voice breaking. No, sweetheart. I'm here to stay. Amy watched the exchange, her heart aching. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that they could somehow rebuild what was lost. But deep down, She knew nothing would ever be the same again. The weight of Ty's return hung over Heartland like a storm cloud, shifting the dynamics of every relationship, every conversation, every quiet moment. Amy found herself caught between two lives, the one she had mourned for years, and the one she had started to rebuild. But there was no easy path forward, no simple answers, only the aching pull of the past and the uncertainty of the future. Ty had promised Lindy he was staying, that he wouldn't leave again. But words were fragile things, and Amy had spent too long learning to live without him to simply believe them now. Trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. It had to be earned. The morning was crisp as Amy led Spartan through the pasture, letting the familiar routine of working with the horses clear her mind. But even as she moved, she felt Ty's presence before she saw him. He was standing by the fence, watching her with the same quiet intensity that used to make her heart race. Now it only made it ache. "You still ride like it's the only place you feel free," he said softly. Amy didn't turn to face him. Maybe because it is.